Good evening. I'm calling this meeting to order. The time is 5:30 p.m. In accordance with the Texas Open Meetings Act, Texas Government Code Chapter 551, this meeting is officially open with the quorum present. We'll begin the meeting with the pledges to the U.S. and Texas flags, led by the students from Lily B. Clayton Elementary School. In just a moment, Principal Stephanie Hughes will introduce them, but first, let's stand.
Board and Dr. Scribner. I have four great students with us today. I have Gideon Meade, Jose Macias, Aubrey Rodriguez, and Hazel Hudson are with us tonight. And they are our captains for our safety patrol. I also have a couple of our members of the staff here, and their parents joined us tonight. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Appreciate you all being here. Next, Mr. Clint Bond with the Communications Department will introduce our student greeters for this evening.
Thank you, President Ramos. Our greeters this evening are from the Army JROTC unit at Pascal High School, where Troy Langston is the principal, and the cadets will stand as I introduce them. Cesar Alvarez, Angelina Garcia, Christopher Smith, Erica Willis, Kaylee Jones, Rafael Aguero, and Angel Ordonez. Let's welcome them and thank them for their assistance. Lieutenant Colonel retired Derek Corbett is the senior Army instructor at Pascal. The JROTC department is under the leadership of Lieutenant Colonel retired Rich Crossley. Just a quick reminder that at 8:30 a.m. tomorrow morning in the lobby of the administration building, JROTC will take the lead in the annual Patriots Day memorial ceremony, and everyone is invited to attend. Thank you.
Thank you, Clint. Moving on to agenda item number 4, Lone Star Governance, Individualized Learning. Dr. Scribner, would you like to make opening comments?
Thank you very much, President Ramos. Tonight we're going to hear from our interim Chief Academic Officer, Jerry Moore, our new Assistant Superintendent for Special Populations. She's been here 4 months, Corey Galum, and our Executive Director of Innovation, David Sines. As the board knows, and the community, I'm sure, also has heard, the board's mission is to prepare all students, ALL, all students, for success in college, career, and community leadership. In doing so, we provide a continuum of services. On one end of the continuum, more structured environments that have individualized and specialized support. And at the other end of the curriculum, more autonomous and independent learning environments for advanced academics and the like. To take you through that continuum, I'd like to turn it over to our team, and at this time, Jerry Moore.
Thank you very much, President Ramos, members of the board, Dr. Scribner. We appreciate the opportunity to be here with you this evening and share information about the Academics Division here in Fort Worth ISD. Tonight, we will be sharing information about individualized learning opportunities throughout Fort Worth ISD, the different opportunities we have for the continuum of students that we have here receiving their education in our schools. As you will see, our Fort Worth ISD board goals are here: early literacy, middle years math, college and career readiness. Our presentation this evening will address all 3 of these goals, actually. We will share information about special education services that support early literacy, middle years math, and we'll get into information about our graduation rates and our college preparedness. And then we'll also hear about college and career individualized learning opportunities that we have here in Fort Worth ISD. Taking a look at our graphic here, You will see that the Division of Academics provides a number of supports for educational opportunities here in Fort Worth ISD. A few that we have highlighted here include special education. We are happy to have with us this evening Ms. Corey Gollum. Ms. Gollum is our new Assistant Superintendent for Special Populations. Today, she will be sharing information about special education, where we've been here in Fort Worth ISD, where we are currently, and where we are going. Corey, it's all yours.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Thank you, Mr. Moore. I wanted to start by saying how honored I am to serve with the Special Populations Department and how over the past 4 months I've been able to visit campuses, meet with parents, and work with this team. Within this team, there is a multi-tiered system of support, and you may have known in the past we often referred to response to intervention. The multi-tiered system of support encompasses response to intervention, which is academics, as well as the social emotional learning supports for struggling students. And we serve all students in that area. Students that have been identified with dyslexia receive supports in reading, spelling, and writing. Psychological services has the implementation services from licensed specialist school psychologists known as LSSPs that form interventions with students for more on the behavioral and mental health side. And then we look at special education. In special education, we look at specially designed instruction that focuses on not just the educational need of a child, but also children with disabilities. That's where we're going to focus today. Over the trend of the past 3 years, as Mr. Moore said, we looked at where we have been. We've noticed an increase in the enrollment. We serve students birth to 21. This graphic represents students that are ages 6 to 21. When we look at race and ethnicity within the special ed enrollment, this mirrors what's happening in the total district's population. Instructional settings is important to look at because we want to know where our students are that we're serving. We have currently 7,781 students with disabilities. I wanted to break that out into students that are served by speech and language pathologists, which we have about 1,761, to the students that are receiving supports through special ed teachers and other services. That's about 6,000 students. If we look at the two services, and we have more services than that I'll show on the next slide, but in this particular slide, I really wanted to focus on those that are in an inclusive environment, being in a special ed, receiving special ed services, but more than 80% of the time in a general ed setting. And those that are in a specialized classroom where they have highly structured and modified curriculum, where they're out of general ed for more than 50%. And you see the majority of the students we do serve are in an inclusive environment. This gives a little bit better outline of all of the continuum of services we provide in this district. We have a small, very small percentage of students that are served in a separate environment where it's highly specialized, highly intensive, and highly modified curriculum, and that's Joe Kelly and Boulevard Heights. But I want to bring your attention to the far right side of the screen because that's where you see that over 50% of our population of students with disabilities are being served in an inclusive environment. This brings me not only once we've looked at the number enrolled, we've looked at the number that we're serving and where we're serving them, I wanted to look at performance data. And over the past 4 years, we've noticed an increase at the elementary level, grades 3 through 8 in the STAR for our students with special education, increase in all of the content areas. The same applies to those receiving end of course passing. The district graduation rates have increased over the past 4 years, and this is all of the students that we serve in this district. They wanted to also look at the graduations for the students in their different races and how they're doing, and there is a nice performance increase in graduation rates. And when you look at the special education graduation rates, we also do see an increase. Now, we would like to see a higher increase. We have a little ways to go, but at least we're on the right track. Which brings us to what we're doing now. What we did when we met with the team is we looked at our data, we looked at the areas of need, and we decided that instead of having looking at a generalized focus structure that we had, we wanted to be more specialized and really look at how we can form focused, targeted groups, focusing first on academic and instructional support where we can build an inclusive culture, provide instructional, differentiated instructions to our team and our teachers, and look at our professional learning. which then moves us, because we have to have a full continuum of services for all of our students with disabilities, into specialized services, which offers a more self-contained, highly modified structure. But in order to do that, we needed administrator and campus support. We needed somebody that could be our point person that can work with the campuses when dealing with IEP implementation, when we're dealing with incidents that happen through graduation and transition. That's our point person for that. And all of that can't be done if we don't have a good evaluation team. And that evaluation team and related services are typically when you see our diagnosticians, our speech and language pathologists, our occupational therapists, our physical therapists, our music therapists, and anything that has to do with related services that provide assessment and can help facilitate the admission, review, and dismissal process that we have. So what are we going to do next? Looking at all of this, this is where we're going to go. We're going to have a realignment of our resources to make sure that we have shared ownership. We want to expand our parent engagement opportunities. We want to look at instructional strategies that provide excellence, looking at differentiated instruction so we can help all of our students, and then design and deliver high-quality professional learning. Mr. Moore?
Thank you, Corey. Drawing our attention back to our graphic of the Division of Academics, once again, you will see we've highlighted other areas of the support structures that we have here in Fort Worth ISD. We are highlighting web-based instruction and our on-ramps dual credit program. Joining us this evening is our Senior Officer for Innovation and Transformation, Mr. David Sines. David is going to share more information about both of these programs for you. David?
Thank you, Mr. Moore. So in order to prepare all students for success in college, career, and community leadership, we must focus on each student's individual pathway through specialized learning. And so we'll start first with the web-based program here in Fort Worth ISD. Excuse me. As you can tell from the red box, we have over 4,000 total courses completed in our web-based system. In the two bars that you see on the right, you will also notice that most of that has been in credit recovery. That's where we've had most of our program focus, which means students that have fallen a little bit behind on that pathway are using these courses to catch up so that they can graduate on time, which is a very, very great thing for our students to have. However, a good bright spot as well is that on the left side where it says accelerated, you have over 1,100 students that are using this to accelerate their coursework, meaning that they're taking courses in order to open up their schedules so that they can take more advanced programs like the on-ramps program that I'm going to share some information about, and also to take advantage of some of their interests like athletics, sports, or other interests that they may have, so they have to open up that schedule. The chart you see before you is also where we take the courses. You can tell most of them are taken in 12th grade, kind of sticking to that theme. It's about credit recovery right now. We want to move to a more accelerated program. But you'll notice also that it kind of tapers off along the way. A lot of the acceleration is happening in the earlier grades, and we have a unique thing going on in the 8th grade that we started pilot last year, where we're doing a little bit of acceleration, a little bit of credit recovery for our students that are overaged and undercredited in that grade level so that they don't enter 9th grade already behind. We want them to enter on time. So we've started using that system to accomplish that goal, and that is how we hope to use it more in the future versus credit recovery. This is a list of all the courses we offer within the web-based program here in Fort Worth ISD. As you can tell, every single course subject is represented, as well as world languages and electives. I will tell you that most of the course subjects, our students take those for credit recovery at the moment. A lot of the acceleration is happening with the world languages and electives. We're also using those courses to support students that want to take courses that are not available maybe at their home high school as well. So next we're going to talk about on-ramps, mostly because on-ramps has been a model for what our web-based blended learning program could look like. The on-ramps program is a program that we approved, that the board approved, and we brought forth this past year. So this is our first year of implementation. And like I mentioned, it is through the University of Texas at Austin. It is most like a dual credit program, but it's a little bit more than that because of the work that's being done directly with the university. It is a blended learning program. It is aligned with entry-level university classes, and it uses the latest in educational research. And the unique nature of it is there's a university professor working and training our teachers in a web-based environment. So that's where the blended comes from. In fact, we trained about 74 teachers 2 summers ago in Austin. This year we trained 54, and we had quite a few students enrolled in it. Out of the students that were enrolled, those students took 3,448 courses. And that is a large amount when you consider us with our peers in other urban districts. At the same time, another piece of good news is 88% of the students that took the course and were eligible for credit earned the credit from the University of Texas, meaning they now have a course credit from UT Austin, one of the top 2 universities in the state. You can also notice that of the 2,000 students that took it, there was students that took multiple courses in the system, not just one. Another great point of emphasis and news is that 75% of the students that took the opportunity to take these courses were first-generation college attendees. That is wonderful news for our students and wonderful news for our community. And another great bit of news is we estimate that it was $1.6 million saved in textbook and tuition expenses for our students and our families here in Fort Worth. Continuing with the good news, this is a distribution of our students that took the course. As you can tell, it closely mirrors our student populations here in Fort Worth. And you'll notice a couple of other great bright spots. This is our first year of the program, and we have gotten very close to either closed, or surpassed our opportunity gaps and our achievement gaps. Another good piece of news you see in this chart is that if you took the course, you had a very good chance of being successful in the course. And we feel it's because of that tiered support of the university professor with our wonderful teachers in a web-based environment. So what are our next steps as we look at supporting our individualized learning here in Fort Worth ISD? Well, we want to design a blended learning framework. And what that means is that we have to prepare our system to support our students. We're taking steps to do that already. We've gained a grant, earned a grant through Raise Your Hand Texas, which will support that work. This year, we've expanded our one-to-one device initiative all the way down to 6th grade, which provides devices for our students to engage in web-based learning once it's ready. And the next steps will involve preparing our teachers and preparing our entire system to make sure that our students that want to take advantage of this course have the best opportunity to be successful when accessing our individualized learning platform. Thank you.
So through our presentation this evening, we hope that you are able to see the individualized approach we are taking for providing educational opportunities and experiences for all students here in Fort Worth ISD. We're excited about the direction that we're going in expanding all of these opportunities, and at this time would be happy to take any questions that you may have.
Thank you, Mr. Moore. Looks like we have a question or comment from Trustee C.J. Evans.
Thank you all so much. On page 7, regarding the SPED population, I see that roughly 20% are they're in a specialized classroom and out of general ed for more than 50% of the time. What are the numbers, or maybe you can get them to me later if you don't know, but are they only in the general or with the general population 1% of the time, or is it 30%, or maybe it's a continuum based on the child, but if you know.
So in that particular group, what I looked at were the kids that were out more than 50% of the time and possibly full-time.
Okay.
So there are some students that are full-time out.
Okay.
And then there are a percentage of students that, and I can find that out for you if you'd like. It goes by instructional setting code, so I'll have to pull the codes, but I'll find that out for you if
Okay.
you like.
And then a few pages down, page 15, you talk about the next steps. Can you tell me a little bit more about expanding the parental engagement opportunities?
Oh, sure. One of the things I've been excited to do is to meet with the special ed PTA. And we're going to be doing some ongoing. I've also, if you notice when I have parent and campus support, we've assigned one of our point people to do that for us, which is kind of exciting. And I think the more we meet with them, we also want to look at, from their point of view, what they're thinking their needs are. We've had 2 meetings so far. Well, one full meeting with the board, and then we'll meet with them next week. And we're going to just sort of brainstorm some ideas that they have, so it's a collaborative effort, because we don't want to be one-sided. We want to make sure that we're looking at all points.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Trustee Quentin Phillips.
Thank you, President Ramos. And I'm in the same section as Trustee Evans was as far as the next steps on slide 15, on page 15. I absolutely love the develop and implement system-wide approach to promote inclusive culture. That's phenomenal, of course. And under that next step, though, the very first one, realignment of resources and supports to foster shared ownership. Can you talk a little bit more about what that can begin to look like?
Oh, sure. One of the things that we'd like to do is to make sure that not just our special ed teachers, but our general ed teachers as well in curriculum instruction have resources to support our students, and do that by realigning what we currently have in resources. And that could be creating resource guidebooks, creating tools, instructional strategy tools, making sure that they have what they need to serve our kids in that environment.
Trustee Andor.
Thank you for this report. I have a couple of questions. One of them is, one of them relates to professional development. Knowing that every student in Fort Worth ISD is a general ed student, some of them happen to need special ed supports. But every student is a gen ed student and should have access to that general education curriculum. What kind of professional development opportunities are available for gen ed teachers to participate with special ed teachers, and special ed teachers to participate and learn from gen ed teachers? And then how is that being encouraged? How is that kind of crossover being encouraged on the campuses and as a district level as well?
Great question. So I would reference back to the approach that we're taking starting this summer with our Flex Day offerings. We put offerings out to teachers so that they could work with their principal to identify an individualized approach for the teacher as well, not just individualized learning for our students, but individualized learning for our teachers. We have offerings in all of the different core content areas, including special education. And while our main audience for our special education professional learning are teachers that are teaching students from a special education setting, we're also encouraging other teachers to participate in those trainings as well. So there is the opportunity for joint training to be going on. That's one of the efforts that we're working on. Corey, is there anything else that you can think of that you would like to share right now?
So also, Ms. Starr, let me just piggyback. We do have a structure in place at elementary and secondary for our PLCs. And Dr. Washington, Dr. Pena make sure our PLCs are scheduled so our special education teachers are also participating with our gen ed teachers. And if you notice on slide 14, and Corey kind of touched on it a little bit, our administrative and campus support. We do have a director of special ed that's working with our principals to help them build in the training that's inclusive on the campus and kind of encourage what does the PLCs look like by including our gen ed teachers and our special education teachers by looking at our data, because of course data is going to drive our planning of instruction as well for that.
I know that my sister, who's been a reading specialist in the district for 3 years, tried to sign up for a dyslexia training this summer, which would make sense. Reading specialist, dyslexia training. But it was limited only to dyslexia specialists. So I don't know if there was a toggle that didn't get toggled, or if that really was only for dyslexia specialists, but I would encourage you to go back and make sure that all of those professional developments that we think everybody can access
Inclusive.
are actually
Sure.
accessible.
We'll go back and review that. Thank you.
Yeah. My next question is for Mr. Sines. Is there any cost for the web-based learning? Does the district absorb that cost, or is there any cost for the student?
There's no cost to the students for either of the programs we talked about. So for web-based or for on-ramps, there's no cost passed on to the student.
And are these programs accessible in the summer? So let's say that my child decided that she wanted to get ahead in math, and so that she could take a more advanced course the next year. Would it be accessible to her over the summer, or if she wanted to do that?
At this point, it's mostly been for the credit recovery, but that's where we're going. We do want to make it accessible during the whole year, including the summer as well.
Okay.
At this moment, we're trying to work with those systems that I spoke about, making sure that we look at policies and procedures governing GPA mostly, then we clean those up so that we can offer these courses to our students and it count correctly for their degrees, or for their diploma after the degree.
Okay. And you're going to have to remind me of some terminology because I've completely blanked out. We have on-ramps.
Yes, ma'am.
We have AP courses.
Yes, ma'am.
But then there's also through TCC.
Dual credit.
Dual credit. Thank you so much. I couldn't think of those words. What is the difference between dual credit and on-ramps?
Most of the difference is the delivery mechanism, because they're both credits from college institutions or from universities or a 2-year. But the delivery system from on-ramps is a blended environment. Usually with TCC, you're going to be in front of a professor, either theirs or ours, that qualifies. With on-ramps, that blended model is what makes it unique. We have a university professor that's basically mentoring and trained our teachers over the summer and sticks with them throughout the year, and they're delivering an online-based curriculum together. And that would be the biggest difference, is that delivery method. But in the end, they get the course credit should they master the course.
Okay. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Trustee Robbins.
Thank you, President Ramos. This is wonderful information. Thank you so much for putting it into our 3 buckets, our 3 goals. It's our hope that all of our reports can be put into 3 buckets so that we're always addressing what our focus is. This is the first web-based presentation that I recall, and I thank you very much for that. And I realize and applaud the need for remediation and so on, but I do hope we'll continue to push forward the advanced academic possibilities with web-based learning. I think we could connect our kids with some of the finest educators in the world, and we should be doing that. The On-Ramps program is wonderful. I look forward to that getting more mature. I got the impression from your comments that our system needs to get a little bit more robust before we can grow a full-fledged web-based system. So from my perspective, thank you for that, and this is wonderful.
Thank you.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
Trustee Luevanos.
Thank you, President Ramos. Thank you for the report. So how many courses are we offering through On-Ramps?
Oh, the number of courses we're offering through On-Ramps. So On-Ramps they have 13 courses that we offer. We offered all but 2 last year. This year we're offering all of them. And so those range from history, English, physics, pre-cal. I'm trying to remember all of them off the top of my head, but it's a lot within the core, and there's a couple of elective courses that we offer. And I can get you that information and send you a sheet with all those courses that we do have.
And then you mentioned at the end of the year they will have to master the program. So do they take a test, like AP tests with the On-Ramps, or?
No, it's based on their assignment grades and their assignment scores, and so it's like a regular college class. There is assessments, there is midterms, there's quarterly exams, and along the way, one of the unique things about it too is that there's a high school grade going attached to it, and it doesn't necessarily match your college grade. Your college grade may be higher or lower depending, but they have to master the college section of the course, and so based on that, there is no final exam like an AP. It's an ongoing measurement for our students.
Thank you.
Trustee Paz.
Thank you. So I'm going to ask a couple more overarching focused questions. So you've mentioned our goals that we have for the district, but when it comes to our students who are receiving special education services, what are the goals specifically that we have for those students, and the types of, what is it that we hope for them to be able to get out of the services that we're providing for them?
So I think the goals that we have for students are college, career, and life readiness goals. So the unique nature of special education services is we do look at each student from an individualist perspective. That's the whole intent of an individualized education program. We set those goals in collaboration with parents and guardians, with teachers, with the school community, and with the student themselves. And we're looking at the services that we're providing and the education we're providing and writing those goals based on that individual student. The whole intent is how are they going to be prepared for what comes next after their time here in Fort Worth ISD.
Okay. So I've been moderately active. I can't say active anymore because I haven't been to a meeting since their first one, but I pay a lot of attention on their Facebook group with our special education PTA. And one of the kind of recurring, it's almost become kind of a tongue-in-cheek, like, oh, my kid got an 85 on their report cards. So, there is a concern from a lot of the community of parents that have students in special education services that their children are not receiving the type of rigor, and that they're not actually, their grades are not accurate grades. I don't know the best way to word this. I need to process information a little bit more, but do you know what I'm asking? So how are we? Is that something that we are going to be able to address and truly being able to dig in with our?
I hear you, Trustee Paz, and that is one of the areas, as Corey described, the restructure within the special education department. She has purposeful leadership in the department to look at how we're working with the educational expectation at the schools. Okay. Along with a report card grade, there should be progress towards IEP goals that come out each 6 weeks when we report to a parent success that students are having. And so I know that Corey is purposely putting those structures in place so that we are looking into a deeper level of success and progress that all of our students are making.
Okay. I've got 2 more questions.
Sure.
So the first one, and they both kind of are along the same lines. So in dealing with parents, one of the most consistent emails that I have gotten over the last 6 years that I've been a trustee, coming from parents, is that it's usually relating to their students being able to receive the services that or the accommodations that they are entitled to by law, and that the frustration around the ARD meetings, and it's almost at the point where you have to hire a professional mediator to come in and get through these meetings. Is there anything that we can do, or is this just a condition of public education or education in general? I hope not. But what can be done about that?
So I think that's another reason that we did the restructuring, so there'd be one voice for our assessment team, and I've watched Ms. Oberon take over. She's one of our directors that's over the assessment team, and how she's done training with our DIAGs, and our LSSPs have been involved in it, our speech people have been involved with it, to have more of an alignment, and so that they get the training that they need to facilitate these ARDs, because it's not a one person's decision, and to make it more of a uniform, collaborative effort to make sure that they do get what they need. I would hope that the parents would feel comfortable, and that's why we have Dr. Hawkins over the parent engagement piece, because we want the campus support and to work with our principals. Sometimes being a new principal, they may not understand all the terminology and how to work through an ARD, and that's why we're here. And that's another piece of the professional learning. Although we want to work with teachers, we want to work with our administrators as well to make sure at the campus level they're receiving what they need just to do the best job they can. And sometimes it's a training piece. And sometimes we just need to monitor, and that's another thing Diane Hawkins is going to be able to help with, is monitoring to make sure IEP implementation is taken care of. Okay.
And finally, and I'm sorry if I had to step out for the first part of your presentation, so you might have addressed this and I might have just missed it. So if I did, just tell me to go back and watch the video. That's fine. But one of the other big conversations has been around the self-contained classrooms and trying to find ways to be more for inclusion. On the majority of our campuses, our special education classrooms are hidden. They're in basements. They're in the back of the building. They're I don't want to say that they're like tucked away where nobody sees them, but that's the reality of the situation. And a lot of the community of parents who have students in who are receiving services would like to see their children in general population and having more opportunities. So, and that's never been really a topic of conversation until recently in Fort Worth ISD. So is that something that we can start working towards?
I think we'll tag team this one a little bit. What I would like to say is I think the structure that Ms. Gollum is trying to put together is leading us in that direction. We want to promote a more inclusive environment, a more inclusive learning opportunity for all of our students, especially our students who are receiving special education services. We're fortunate to be able to add additional supports through teachers, through diagnosticians, through evaluation personnel, support personnel from special ed this last semester. So being able to look at this specialized focus from our special education department, having a key point person for each of the different areas to support the entire educational experience, I think is really going to move us in that more inclusive setting. Corey, feel free to add anything.
You actually mentioned, Mr. Moore mentioned it before, that our goal is to provide an inclusive culture, but we do have to offer a full continuum of services. And because we look at each individual, individual child separately, and based just on their full and individual evaluation all the way into the classroom to see where those services can best be met, that's what we have to focus on. So we will always have a full continuum, but our overall goal will always be to be as inclusive as we possibly can.
Thank you.
Okay.
Trustee Jackson?
Thank you, President Ramos. Thank you all for a very comprehensive presentation. I just have one question. Dual credit, on-ramps, and AP coursework, grades 9 through 12, every campus within Fort Worth ISD, equally accessible?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes.
Are we sure?
Yes.
So if I go to IM Terrell, they're going to tell me that they have dual credit up and running?
They will once they get to that level of grade, because it depends on the grade levels as well. I am Charles in 10th grade. You'll see it more when it comes to 11th and 12th grade.
But we have all three, so when parents ask.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. When we offer those courses, like I said, it depends on the student's choices throughout. And if it's available, most of those will be in the older grade levels and on the individual students' pathways.
Okay,
But,
great.
yes.
Thank you so much.
Yes, you're welcome.
Trustee Robbins?
Thank you again, President Ramos. I'll just, in terms of inclusivity, and being inclusive, I remember on some of the racial equity walks that I had the privilege of participating in, most of the classes had special ed kids. I mean, the kids were separated into 3 or 4 or 5 different groups, and the teacher would go around and work with all the groups, and she spent, as I recall, a great deal of time with the special ed kids. There were fewer of them in the class, but they were included, and it seemed to work out all right. I don't see how our teachers do that. That seems to be incredibly difficult to me. So I applaud them for doing that. And the more training we can give them to help them in that area, I think would be wonderful. So thank you.
Thank you.
I've got just not necessarily what questions, but more of thoughts on this presentation. You know, the second I saw Lone Star Governance on the top, I was hoping that we would see the goal and then the goal progress measure and then a direct connect of data. So as this board gets ready for LSG training, which we thought maybe was October, maybe November, I think we're going to zero in on December. This board getting aligned under that common vocabulary, and what I've heard, possibly some frustration from our board of where we have fallen off in this work, and I'm going to come from a point of acknowledgement, not from a point of awareness. I'm going to acknowledge that I myself had fallen off of this governance model, and I'm looking for kind of that kind of response from us as a district. That one, it's one thing for us to say that we're aware we have challenges within this population. An I statement for me is I'm looking for us to acknowledge that we are failing young people in this specific category, you know, and I make correlations to the young people that are in our alternative education settings. You know, I listen to Trustee Paz recognizing that there's a narrative that this population of young people may be in different types of classrooms. It's the same thing that I've experienced in young people that are being kicked out of classrooms in Fort Worth Independent School District. You know, I had made a comment before that I've visited classrooms where young people are kicked out of class, and it's almost like I can make the assumption that they're going to be in a dungeon type of a setting, right? So two things. One, to be very specific, to be very clear. One, that moving forward, that when we have LSG on top, that we specifically list the goal and the goal progress measure and the data associated with it. Are we going up or are we going down?
Okay.
Right? The second one is that we begin to have a real conversation. As dangerous and as vulnerable it's going to make us, to have conversations from a point of acknowledgement and not from a point of awareness. I've sat here 6 years of we're aware we have a challenge here. We're aware we have a challenge there. Acknowledgement is us walking around the district and saying, we are failing you here, we are failing you there. That's a much different conversation than I'm aware that we have a problem. So just some insight for you all as we move forward as we're going into this, and this is not after having a conversation as a board. Really, this is me as one individual trustee in my I statements. Fair enough?
Yes, sir.
Thank you. And we will move on at this point to public comment. Let me remind you that because of restrictions by the Texas Open Meetings Act, board members may not engage in a verbal exchange about a subject that has not been posted. We will listen and take notes, but the board is prohibited from responding to any inquiries made during a board meeting on any topic not posted on the agenda. However, the board may reply with 1, a statement of specific factual information given in response to the inquiry, 2, recitation of existing policy in response to the inquiry, or 3, direct a person to visit with staff about the issue. While the board listens to concerns of a general nature and issues of common and individual concern, the board will not hear complaints about specific individual employees or public officers during the public comment session. Speakers shall refrain from mentioning names of individual employees or public officers during their public comments. Any employee, parent, or other member of the public is asked to comply with the appropriate grievance policy to have a complaint heard pursuant to the applicable board policy. In accordance with board policy BED local, speakers shall have a 3-minute time limit, and I ask that you please observe this rule. Furthermore, a speaker may not relinquish his or her time to another speaker. Delegations of 5 or more persons shall appoint one person to present their views before the board with the time not to exceed 5 minutes. First speaker, I'm going to ask, similar to the last one, that I'm going to call out 2 names, one to come to one podium, the second person go to the other podium to ensure that we try to get everyone's public comment in tonight. First person to come up to a podium is L. Penix. Second person will be Diane M., and I believe it's Simons? Simons. So L. Penix would come up to the first microphone. Second person will be Diane. Penix here? Okay. Okay. Penix is up first.
Good afternoon. My name is LeJohn Penix. First of all, I'm a school bus driver here in the Fort Worth Independent School District. I'm also is the president of the Fort Worth Education Association. I stand before you. I just want to say, give kudos to the school board. First of all, to Dr. Scribner, the school board, and everybody involved. On behalf of the transportation branch, for their increase in their pay, which they've been fighting for years. And a lot of times our school board is criticized for what they don't do. They're not doing stuff fast enough. But I just like to thank them when they do something right. We always send a little personal email to a person, but I think sometimes we need to make it public what they do when they do things right and they do stuff. They might not do things in our favor all the time, but when they're working towards one goal, and that's our students, to help promote our students, whether it be getting on the bus, and happy bus drivers means happy students. And so the transportation department wanted me to come down because they're driving buses, still dropping off students, even when it's late, making sure they all get home. And thank you guys personally for you guys considering them and giving them an increase in pay to what they've been asking for years. And give kudos to everybody involved, from the CFO. I can't mention names, of course, but, you know, everybody involved, everybody for that. And when their pay was messed up, you guys quickly jumped on it and straightened it out. So the transportation department would like to say thank you and good job and give you a round of applause.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Diane. Diane will be followed by Arnoldo Hurtado.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Schreibner and other board. I'm going to make this quick, and yes, I'm so nervous. However, y'all heard that before. Okay, so y'all stated that y'all had, 7,781 people with disabilities, I believe, and over 50% of them were inclusive area. That you mentioned dyslexia, psychological, and special education, correct? Also, you mentioned in one of them was very quickly it went through, but that the Hispanics were actually in the highest percentage of the graduation part. So this brings up the teacher. Are we allowed to say their name? Okay, I didn't think so. So, which is okay. That the teacher discussed about being terminated after we've already discussed this June 4th. Really shouldn't be a discussion. I think that y'all's decision of 8-0 was the right way. I mean, things haven't changed since then, okay, except that it might be part of her contract. Everybody has a contract of some sort if they have a job. You really have one as a student when you go into a classroom that you know you don't misbehave or you get out, okay? If you're an employer, you're going to fire that person if they're not doing their job. Does it have to say, I'm not going to be disrespectful, I'm not going to call you names, I'm not going to disgrace you? No, it doesn't. We should know that as an adult, especially if you're a teacher, you have your education, and you know how to take care of everybody else, take care of everyone. It doesn't matter if they're Hispanic, it don't matter if they're black, race, ethnicity, if they're disabled. You know, what happens if the poverty level? Do we want to keep going on, and we want to segregate? So, are you going to let any teacher discriminate and move on? How many times did she already get transferred? 3? Let's make it 4 more. 10 more. Or if you allow her to stay with y'all are sitting there saying, not only do we condone her behavior, we support it. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Arnoldo. Arnoldo will be followed by Aaron Moreno.
Good evening, Board. President Cinto Ramos, Dr. Scribner, and the Board. I'm here for the fourth time, I think, now, and I'm happy to be here. I think that we're having great conversations and transparent conversations with the greater community of Fort Worth, with parents, family, neighbors, and students. As a former alumnus of North Side of the Fort Worth ISD, I'm here to talk about sort of my experience growing up in the Fort Worth ISD, which was a great experience. I had a lot of opportunities. I remember art was my place, and I had a great teacher, Gloria Ennis, who has passed now, but she was a beloved art teacher by both the district and by her students. And I remember approaching her, and she just welcomed me with wide arms. And so that's a great example of a leader and a teacher who is doing what they're supposed to be doing and offering opportunities to students in our district. So I wanted to bring that forth because I know that sometimes, like another member said, we come with all the bad energy, and I don't want to do that. I really don't. That's not my intent. And if it comes across that way, I'm sorry. I apologize. I definitely want to work to find solutions in our district because I live here. I'm from here. I was born in the north side of Fort Worth, and I'm very in touch with my community. I know some of our grievances, which are a lot, but I know a lot of our successes. So with that said, I do want to mention that when I went to Northside High School, I was part of the magnet program there, which was the High School of Medical Professions. And it was a great program. I don't know what the standing of that program is now, but I do know that some other programs have popped up, like the food services and hospitality industry. But while there, I did have an instance where, similar to what happened recently with that teacher who said some very nasty things, I wasn't allowed to speak Spanish. Spanish is my first language, actually, even though I was born here. We spoke Spanish at home, and I remember that teacher would record us because she thought we were talking about her. And so it was sort of this projection of fear. It was fear, and that's a lot of what's going on today is fear in our communities on all sides. And what we do when we're afraid is we start attacking each other, and that's not necessarily what we need to be doing at all. But that was a prime example of something that triggered that memory when I heard about this teacher. And my next thing is, how many more of her are there? That was just one instance, and she screwed up. She outed herself, basically. But how many sleeper cells are there in our district who are a lot more cautious than she is and laying down the mechanics? I talked about the pipelines, right? The pipelines of success and sometimes the pipelines that lead to prison. And we have prime examples of our district laying those pipelines down. When we talk about alternative education programs, many times when we outsource those things, that's what prisons are. And so I just want to leave you with that thought. I think I was cut short, though. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have Aaron Moreno. Aaron will be followed by Beverly Fletcher.
Good evening. I just want to start by saying that I am a recent graduate from Pasco High School, and I wanted to go over the pending appeal of the teacher who got fired over those racist tweets. So one of the things like that FDRESD kind of like emphasizes is that, you know, every child in the district should be welcome and be treated with dignity and respect. And I just want to say that, you know, what this teacher has done is, you know, basically went against that. And it's kind of like painful to think about like how students should not be subject to, you know, those kind of racist, like her racist behavior. So like those tweets, you know, her behavior in class, there's like a lot of stuff like from the investigations that kind of like hints at like, you know, her malicious intent. And I just kind of want to give my opinion on the subject. So I feel like, you know, if students like every day are going to like do that kind of stuff, because like her behavior is like her behavior, you know, her behavior has quite effectively disrupted the classroom, and I don't think that should be a thing in our classrooms. You know, schools are supposed to be a safe place, and if this stuff is happening even in the schools, you know, I just don't agree with that. And that's all I have to say.
Thank you, Aaron. Next, we have Beverly Fletcher. Beverly will be followed by Robert Baker.
Good evening. I'm enjoying coming back just to see your beautiful faces. This is our fourth time to come, and we want to continue to support the full-time art teacher at Metro, which had been cut and now is only 2 periods. Last time it was 1 period. The first time that we came, they had done away with the art program and wanted to do a digital program, which that luckily is not happening because art is hands-on. So before I continue, I want to say hello, President Ramos, esteemed board members. Each of you are so vital and important to our district and to each child. And then, of course, Dr. Scribner, I just appreciate you so much. Thank you that I can be transparent and tell you from my heart that this comes because we care about our children. And I know that each one in this room also cares, or we wouldn't be here. Leadership, appreciate you. Please make this work for us to have a full-time art teacher, not just a little piece of one. You know, I think our children at Metro are so worthy, and they are the most hurting, they are in hard places, and we need to help them the most. You know, Fort Worth ISD, whenever we have a school that is, you know, below the mark that we want them to be, we send out resources, and we help them to be better. And that's what I want us to do with Metro, with these young people that have problems. They need more. So I'm here to support them and advocate, as you know, because I can do that very well because I care so deeply. So I did want to mention there are a lot of rumors going around, outsourcing rumors for Metro. There's also a rumor of combining middle level and Metro. I feel like that was brought up 5 years ago, and many people in the community came, including therapists, psychologists, university people, and talked about that being detrimental to those 6th graders being with 12th graders that have at-risk problems. So I wanted to bring that up as, you know, something that should be looked at closely. And then in addition, not only the outsourcing, but we were talking about the two campuses working together. If a little sixth grader was with a 12th grader and they both have major problems, that could be a emotionally disturbing, something bad could happen. So please think carefully on that as well. Now, the outsourcing situation, if that did happen, who would make decisions about the art program? And also, would we have to follow the law? Like we brought up accountability last.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you very much for your patience.
Thank you,
Okay.
ma'am. So next we have Robert Baker. Robert is not here. So next two individuals, first one up is Suzanne Richards. Suzanne, then we will have Robert Rogers. Suzanne here. So Robert, you're up next, and after Robert will be Mindia Whittier.
Good evening, President Ramos, trustees, and Dr. Scribner. I appreciate having the opportunity to talk to you. And President Ramos, thank you for providing an on-ramp for my comments. We did not coordinate, I promise, but it certainly helped with what I would like to say. As a community partner with the district in trying to help improve our early childhood literacy rates, I have noticed that the release of the STAR data in the summer has become the SAT envelope that I am anxious to open each, if you all remember back when you waited for your SAT scores. And so it is interesting to me and somewhat confusing that with the Lone Star governance, what you have on the first page should look familiar to you. It is your Goal 1 early literacy goals and goal progress measures. If you see in the little box at the top, updated 7/2/2018, I can't find any more recent update of the data than that. We have what I've written in on your Goal 1 targets are the data for our STAR performance on the MEETS level, which is the grade level reading, based on what's on the commit website for the 4 years listed on your targets. 30% in 2016, 33% 2017, 33% 2018, and 32% 2019. These are important numbers to look at, but as one of my friends said, every number that we look at has the face of a student on it. I think when you look at the second page of this report, it is more indicative of what we really need to focus on. The number of kids that meet standard in third grade reading has dropped each year for the past 2 years. The numbers that did not meet are dropping also, but that's simply because our entire census is dropping. I think when you look at the totals on the right, it is important to think about the impact on the entire school system to have 37,437 students that have progressed to fourth grade not adequately prepared because they're not reading at grade level. Also, what's supposed to happen with Lone Star governance is that you spend time looking at specific data for specific schools, and you would spend considerable time doing so. I decided simply to prepare a model report for you that would be like what I would expect to see you do. A vulnerable population in the reading sphere is actually male students. Male students tend to lag behind female students by 5 to 7% per year. You'll see the data on 10 schools
Thank you, Robert.
that have not reached 20% for male students in the past 8 years. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Next, we have Mindia, will be followed by Joanna Powell.
Hi, I'm a Fort Worth ISD parent and a member of the District Student Health Advisory Commission. Here is a picture of the teacher who violated the 14th Amendment right that all students have to be protected from discrimination and violated a Supreme Court ruling that bars school officials from reporting students to federal immigration authorities. Here is Robert Prather Sr., the examiner who made an asinine ruling for her termination to not be upheld, despite the fact that he's an attorney and knows the 14th Amendment and the Plyer v. Doe Supreme Court decision. Here is Mike Morath. He's the Texas Education Commissioner who appointed Robert Prather as the hearing examiner. And lastly, here is Greg Abbott. He's the one who appointed Mike Morath to serve as the Texas Education Commissioner, despite Morath having less than 1 year of teaching experience. I'm sure I don't have to point something out to you that these people all have in common. Every one of them is white. So we have a white person who was exonerated of discriminating against children of color by a white male who was appointed by a white male who was also appointed by a white male, all of whom hold positions of privilege. If you accept the ruling by the hearing examiner, then you are giving 3 privileged white males all the power to determine what equity and inclusion looks like in our district. That is the very definition of white supremacy. I'm appalled at Robert Prather's decision, but I'm not surprised because systems of supremacy are designed to protect the oppressor. Mr. Prather is not an independent examiner. That's a misnomer. He is a political appointee with only 2 degrees of separation from an elected official who has proven his anti-immigration agenda. Prather's decision is not negligent. It is an act of racial oppression, and your job is to eliminate structural oppression in our school district. So in addition to firing the teacher, I'm asking you to fully dismantle the system of oppression by also taking the following steps. Conduct a thorough investigation into the Fort Worth ISD operations and policies for handling personnel issues to determine why action was not taken against Clark sooner. Number 2, make a formal recommendation to the Texas Education Agency that Clark's teaching certificate be revoked so she can't be rehired to terrorize children of color elsewhere. And number 3, submit a complaint to the Texas Education Agency against hearing examiner Prather for gross misconduct. Thank you.
So next we have Ms. Powell will be followed by Elizabeth Maldonado.
Good afternoon. I came today to discuss my opinions for the teacher who was terminated. My daughter was bullied by her, and I'm very upset to say that 6 Fort Worth ISD lawyers contacted us over the summer to come in, testify, go to hearings. We showed up on time. We did everything that they asked. And now to even think that they're going to give her job back is disgusting. 22 school shootings this year, and over 5 kids have killed themselves. School's supposed to be a safe place. As a parent, we have to worry about our kids coming home safely. No school shootings. Kids are getting bullied, so they decide to commit suicide. Okay, my daughter getting bullied, but she got bullied by a teacher. She didn't get bullied by another student, and that is not right. Going on social media, she put the kids in danger. The man that went from Dallas to El Paso, what if somebody sitting there go on Twitter, illegals at a high school, let me go shoot it up. That's bringing too much attention to the schools. Way too much attention. And then I came here with that on my mind, but then I sit here and I watched this presentation. Being a mother of a sped child, went from 504 special education, it haven't even been a month of school, and I have 3 phone calls that my son is taking too long. He can't be still. And then I asked the teachers, do y'all know that he have a learning disability? Do y'all know that he's sped? Oh, no, we had no idea. But you put a whole presentation together, and they're supposed to do that at least the first week of school or the first month of school. So now my son is failing. And this is his first year that he is playing football. And he's sad. His accommodations, he's not getting them. When is he going to get them? The 2nd month of school, the 3rd month of school? What if they call on him to read and he stutters or don't know a word? They're going to make fun of him. Now we're talking about suicide because I've been through that before. He was called to read and the kids made fun of him and he asked to go to the restroom and he went missing. He was in a janitor closet talking about how he wanted to kill himself. Therefore, he's MHMR. So I just wanted to hit on both topics today because as a parent, that's upsetting seeing that y'all took out all the time to do that. Boy, y'all enforcing it in the school. And yes, the kids are split up when they're in SPED. They say so the kids won't make fun of you. So they come get you out of class one by one. 20 minutes, 15 minutes, it's not enough to go over something with a child that has a learning disability that you have to keep repeating yourself. So I thank y'all for your time.
Next, we have Elizabeth. Elizabeth will be followed by Thomas Torlincasi. My apologies.
Hello, my name is Lizzie Maldonado, and I'm a parent in District 5. I want to speak with you about the firing of a Fort Worth teacher that's on the agenda today. You already made the unanimous decision to propose termination, and I hope you'll do it again. This year, our community was shocked by imagery and stories from inside detention centers where children are held with few rights and inhumane conditions. Many of us were moved to action against federal policy to separate families and to detain and deport people who have committed no violent crimes. This teacher saw that same coverage and aimed to put children from our community in those same cages. While many of us were appalled and heartbroken by the actions of ICE and CBP, this teacher was inspired. I know that sounds harsh, but discovering the conditions of migrant children in detention was nothing short of a national moment. During a similar national moment in 2017, this board chose to make it official policy that the district would be a welcoming place for students regardless of immigration status. The political timing of that statement was no coincidence. The district was responding to a national immigration, climate, and enforcement policies that threatened to affect the safety, attention, well-being, and inclusion of students in our community. In her career, this teacher has a public record of infractions with students that include pressing students of color for proof of citizenship, separating students in her class on the basis of race and national origin, and telling Latinx students they, quote, aren't part of America. And in the case at hand, however, she escalated that pattern of discrimination and attempted to target children under her care with immigration enforcement, violating the district's policy and federal law. In 1975, a Texas case went to the Supreme Court over the same matter. Plyler v. Doe set a national standard that denying children access to public education on the basis of immigration status violated the Equal Protection Clause of the 14th Amendment. Given these clear violations of district policy and federal law, I too was surprised to hear that Robert C. Prather Sr., the independent hearing examiner on this teacher's case, made a recommendation to this board to reverse your unanimous decision to terminate employment. I asked the board to take whatever action is in your power to revoke this teacher's certifications along with her prompt termination from her position within the district. Her actions have broken trust with students, the board, and the community, and I can't imagine that she could ever be successful in the classroom after this. It isn't worth testing that theory and risking the well-being and sense of belonging of children in this district either. She holds dangerous views toward people of color and cannot be trusted to maintain a fair, balanced, and safe classroom for all Carter Riverside students. Thank you.
Next, we have Thomas. Thomas will be followed by Miracle Slover.
President Ramos, Dr. Scribner, board trustees, my name is Thomas Torling Cassie. I'm a graduate of Western Hills High School, former Fort Worth ISD teacher. My mother retired as a Link special ed teacher in Fort Worth. Earlier today, I got off my bulldozer and came to lend my voice to the discussion that these other people have so eloquently brought forward to you. I wanted to tell you a story about my first week in Fort Worth ISD. This is a long time ago. I was on the playground in the 7th grade, 12 years old. I met a bunch of kids. I was speaking Japanese. I can't explain why, but I can speak Japanese fluently, partly because I spent 4 years in Japan before that. The assistant principal heard me speaking Japanese and took me straight to his office, where he told me that Japanese was not welcome in Fort Worth. I'll name that principal for 2 reasons. Assistant principal, because he would be 110 years old if he was alive today. And because his name, his actual name, was Robert E. Lee, and he was very proud of who he was named after. My 7th grade Texas history teacher, also at Montague Middle School, took great pleasure in finding every piece of literature where he could proudly read the derogatory N-word when describing the Confederacy era of Texas history. My point today is, that's nearly 50 years ago. 50 years ago, we should have been fighting this fight. And I feel terrible that our board is still having to address these kinds of systemic racism and bigotry today. You got it right the first time. You voted 8-0. And I strongly urge you and affirm that you should vote 8-0 again.
Next, we have Miracle. Miracle will be followed by our final speaker for the evening, Miguel Argumedo.
Good evening. My name is Miracle Slover. I am a 12th grader who attends Amy Carter Riverside High School. Miss Clark was my 8th grade teacher. She was, my 8th period English 3 teacher. She was a very peculiar woman. Being in her class made me feel very uncomfortable. She made racist slurs such as all black people are criminals. And she also made comments like all Hispanics are drug dealers. Not to mention we were segregated in her class. Moving on to a situation that had occurred that really bothered me was one day my classmate Louis Miana had asked Miss Clark could he use the bathroom. Her response was, "Show me your papers stating that you are legal here." After this response, Miss Clark had made our class begin to bash her, saying she's racist. After our class had got into a big argument about this, the next days that occurred, it seemed that all of my Hispanic classmates and also friends had begun to start skipping her class. So this means that Ms. Clark's statement had made a strong impact on these students' lives. I feel like teachers are built to protect us, make us feel safe in a learning environment, never attacked or guilted or intimidated. And that's all I had to say. Thank you.
Thank you. Our final speaker for tonight is Miguel, a.k.a. Migo Argumedo.
Hello, trustees, and thank you, Jacinto Ramos. Just to start off, I do feel failed as a student, seeing that I graduated recently, about having a teacher like this within the schools. But then, after hearing all of these speeches, I don't think I could really say anything to top that off. But I do want to address another issue that that isn't really direct, but I'm working for My Brother's Keeper, and we visited schools a few times, and we see the college banners on the schools, and with the college banners, I would ask, where are the HBCUs and where are the HBCUs are historical black colleges and things like that. And they told me that they got the banners from the district, and I'm just kind of giving a recommendation to give them banners for HBCUs and also Hispanic scholars institutions. I think they're called HSIs, I believe. But back to the teacher that is being terminated. The meaning of a teacher is supposed to guide and help a student, but having a teacher that comes to the classroom and separates you because of your ethnicity, or separates you because of something that identifies you as a person. And I kind of did struggle with this as a freshman in high school, seeing that I would come to school and I felt like I was too Mexican, but then I'd come home and felt like I was not Mexican enough. And then seeing a teacher that's doing this to students is kind of giving them making them struggle with the self-identity type of thing. And I do strongly support that y'all really do terminate this teacher and do anything possible to not have this issue come again. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I do want to make a special note to thank the young people and the young voices, Aaron, Miracle, Miguel. Thank you for coming to speak your truth. Appreciate all the speakers for tonight. We will now recess and reconvene in the board conference room. Thank you. Okay, in accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the meeting at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom with a quorum present, recessed open session of boardroom, and is now reconvened at 6:52 p.m. in the open session in the board conference room with a quorum present. Moving on to discussion of consent agenda items. Are there any questions from the board concerning consent agenda items? CJ?
I have a question just about B1 and B2, the CTE computers and stuff. So I notice there's different amounts for the different schools, like the Benbrook Middle High is $2,600 basically, yes. Then Pascal's about 10 times that, and it kind of varies. What is the difference there?
It's the size of the programs, really. And Benbrook Middle High, for example, is smaller enrollment, but it's also in a program it's articulating.
Okay.
It just had its first in your class. Pascal's a larger school, and so most of it's a function of that.
Okay.
Can I ask a question about that same thing while you're sitting
Sure,
here? So years 1, 2, and 3 cohorts. How was the decision? I'm assuming that means that this is the group that's starting this year, and then the next year will be the year 2 cohort.
With regards to
and then
certifications?
With the computer.
Oh, with the computers. I'm sorry.
Oh, you know what? I'm sorry. I am on the wrong thing. With the
structured literacy?
Yes, the structured primary literacy. So that isn't you. My apologies.
No problem. Thank you.
Sure. Our structured literacy program is our NIHOUSE work that we've been doing. We started 2 years ago with identified campuses, some of our lower achieving campuses that we wanted to get a structured phonics program embedded into the campus. We expanded last year into the next level of campuses. The Tier 3 are getting the rest of our campuses involved with this training. What we did with NIHOUSE is we sat with our literacy directors and the NIHOUSE representatives and aligned the program to our scope and sequence so that any campus that will be participating in the program now will still be on scope and sequence, just have the choice of our new Pearson materials or the NIHOUSE materials to provide phonics-based instruction.
So the principals choose?
They have both of those resources available at the campus, and it is a campus-based decision. It still aligns to our scope and sequence, so we'll still be on the same topics at whichever campus the programs would be at.
Okay, so if it's cohort 1, does that mean that those schools during the 2019-2020 school year are getting this program? Cohort 2?
Cohort 1 are the schools that received the training 2 years ago.
Okay.
Cohort 2 received the training last year. Cohort 3 are new campuses that have not received the training yet that we will be training this year.
Excellent. And then who is providing? I noticed it came with coaching. Who is providing that coaching?
That's NIHOUSE.
Okay.
So NIHOUSE is working with us right now. One of our goals of the foundational literacy academies that we're instituting is being able to internalize that work, so we don't need to continue this contract, that we actually have a foundational literacy academy that will address a phonics-based instruction as well. But for right now, they're coming in to help the implementation of the program.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, yes.
Any other questions on consent agenda? Looks like we have no more questions. So this time we will recess and reconvene in the board conference room for executive session.
Dr. Ken Scripner with Flower ISD. La mejor
Hey, how are you? It's good to see you again.
We're heading in the right direction.
It's going to be a great start to a great year.
Today's about new beginnings, fresh starts, an opportunity to take another step toward being successful in college, career, and community leadership.
It's an exciting day, but still a bit scary.
El día de hoy es el primer día de regreso a clases en el Distrito Escolar de Fort Worth.
Every student that I encounter is going to be reading at grade level by third grade.
Read a book with them and reinforce how important education is.
We're very excited to welcome all of our returning students and our new students to Lily B into a wonderful school year.
How are you feeling about the first day of school?
I'm a little nervous.
We're very excited. This is first day of school. Rise and shine on 819, and lots of smiling faces and happy parents to start the school year.
Oh, it's so welcoming and warm, and I haven't seen our kid cry yet. That's a good start. Everybody excited.
Miss Horton was leading the theme of superheroes. She truly is off to a great start. Increasing energy here at AMP. I can already tell you're off to a good year.
Good morning. How's everybody doing?
We're all going to work together as a team, and it's going to be a great year. I always tell you, it's a brand new year. It's a great year, great opportunities for you to be successful.
Congratulations to you, and thank you, Mr. Durbin, for showing this program to us.
First day, like for me, is a kind of a thunderstorm of a whole bunch of different things.
It's been pretty easy, laid back. You know, teachers are pretty cool.
About all of the opportunities that you have ahead of you and the goals that you've set for yourselves, this is going to be a great year.
We've gone to all the schools in District 7. This is the last one. And each one has been very cool and calm. It's been a very positive experience.
Do a sport or an activity or club?
Yes.
This has been a great first day of school. We're looking forward to an even more successful 2019-2020 school year.
Creando una Amistad event. We're kicking off the 2019-2020 school year in style. Really want to make sure that we're connecting with all of our parents.
Dr. Scribner and Board President Jacinto Ramos are going to be here talking to families. We also have resources, online registration, free backpacks, and lots more.
Yo estoy aquí para recibir información nueva para mis hijos de Fort Worth ISD. Y para recibir los útiles gratis para el primer día de escuela.
These kinds of events are absolutely necessary, that they get the resources, that they get the correct information, so that they're best prepared for the first day of school and for the entire school year. So being able to visit with Dr. Scribner and myself, something that we're not taking very lightly at all.
It's really important that we engage with our families in a real and personal way. And we want them to know that our schools are welcoming and safe environments for all students.
The main goal is to make sure our parents know that we want their students in school on the first day. Teaching and learning takes place on the first day, and that you belong here. Aquí perteneces.
We're happy to receive school supplies from Fort Worth ISD.
Rise and shine on 819.
We're extremely privileged that the Fort Worth Symphony has partnered with us all year long through open rehearsals and master classes, and now this culminating in the side-by-side rehearsal.
Fort Worth Symphony is a professional orchestra, so these 9th grade students who are here in the Terrell Orchestra are getting a real wonderful experience to sit next to. Hi, I'm Karen. Side by side with a professional musician. That's not something that every music student gets to do.
Well, good morning, everybody.
I was a little nervous when we started, but I started to, feel welcome. Working with Alejandro and seeing how he conducts and getting to experience stuff with other conductors is very important.
I think an example of what collaboration can look like. You know, regardless of age groups and regardless of situations and levels of playing. From the interaction that I've had with some of the students just now, it seems like they're very inspired too, and they have thanked us, and they're thinking, oh my gosh, now we have like a boost. We're gonna really keep doing this because it's very important.
It felt intense, as in like a lot just happened.
Good. Okay, now violins, don't mess it up. Just violins. 2, 1, and.
I just think, oh, this is so great that there are still people out there that love classical music and are into it, you know, and having fun with their friends playing music.
Bravo. Very nice. Awesome session.
How's everybody doing this morning? Hungry. All right, so I'm going to get straight to the point. Every line is going to have fresh fruits and vegetables, salad, sandwiches, and wraps. And then we have some main entree.
Fort Worth ISD has partnered with Sodexo Magic to run their child nutrition program.
Basically, we're going to be testing the new cafe food for the cafeteria, and I'm really excited because this is going to be a new incentive, I guess, for the kids to stay on campus and really try out new things.
There's going to be some staples, and then every day there's going to be a special. We also, every day we will be offering fresh fruit and vegetables as part of our offering bar.
We have such a diverse group, why wouldn't we have diverse food options?
Everything is fresh. It's always that way. Having better menus, things that are more eye-appealing, we hope will keep kids on the campus instead of going off campus for lunch.
Fort Worth ISD is kind of pushing very student-centered because that gives them an opportunity to have a voice that gives them more of an incentive to try harder in class.
What that means for me as a teacher is we will have students who are able to show up to class on time, especially for the class period immediately following lunch.
The food was really good compared to what we eat last year. These kids, they go out of campus and spend a lot of money on fast food that isn't necessarily nutritious. It really benefits the kids for the better.
The old pizza that we get is like, it was good, but not as good as this, because it had more like texture and flavor to it.
I'm definitely going to this school when I grow up.
This is Fort Worth, the way we see it every day. But let's take the 1,000-foot view, and you'll see that this is also Fort Worth ISD. Our 148 campuses, schools in every neighborhood, are preparing students for success in college and for tomorrow's workforce. So, no matter who you are, what you do, where you live, you belong here. Fort Worth ISD is a good place to be for a lot of good reasons. But don't just take our word for it. The Texas Education Agency says our most recent academic gains are among the best. The TEA named us one of 2 top districts in Texas in year-to-year positive growth in academic achievement. Our gains were across the board, including substantial increases in the percentage of students reading on grade level. And we've cut the number of campuses rated improvement required in half. Among those moving up to meeting the standard were 5 schools that were reconstituted as leadership academies. After investing time, top talent, and money at the campuses, including a $1 million gift from the Rainwater Charitable Trust, the accountability gains at all 5 campuses were in double digits. There's also our nationally recognized commitment to equity.
And I'm
The
calling
Fort
this
Worth
meeting
ISD Board of Education received the 2018 CUBE Award for Urban School Excellence from the Council of Urban Boards of Education, where educational equity is one of the core measures. Then there's our scholarship dollars. The class of 2018 earned a record-setting $102.6 million in merit scholarships and grant offers. That's up from $36 million just 3 years ago. At the front end of the education journey, our 4,000 littlest learners are getting a great start in Fort Worth ISD pre-K.
How are you?
And their parents got to register them online instead of in-line, as our district moved to an all-online registration process. There's also this space right here, our new I Am Terrell Academy for STEM and VPA. From day one, this campus was buzzing with creative energy in labs, an incredible makerspace, and on the visual and performing arts side, in studios, practice rooms, and a world-class performance hall. And talk about engaging. The Cowan Humanities Academy at I Am Terrell makes us all want to go back to school.
What does he say there?
As construction on I Am Terrell was wrapping up, a new capital improvement program was already in high gear. Thanks to you, the voters, our record-setting 2017 bond is transforming learning spaces district-wide. The Fort Worth community is also all in for elementary literacy with Read Fort Worth, which is doing an outstanding job of aligning its partners, resources, and strategies to support our district's 100 by 25 literacy initiative to get all third graders reading on grade level by the year 2025. Led by Mayor Price and Matt Rose, it's a perfect example of collective impact for bigger and quicker results, especially where they're needed most. As we've said before, we can't do it without you. You belong here.
Welcome, everyone, to this celebration of excellence. The men and women who we are honoring today come from all walks of life, all parts of the city, and very diverse careers and endeavors. What they share is determination, dedication, a passion for their work, and a Fort Worth ISD education. It is with great pleasure that we add them now to the Fort Worth ISD Wall of Fame. And listen to this. It's the genie who steals the show. When Major Attaway gets unbottled, you can feel the show start to levitate. Major Attaway has played the genie on Broadway since 2016. He attended Arlington Heights High School. But today, Major Attaway is back home, and we add him to the Fort Worth ISD Hall of Fame. Congratulations, Major Attaway. Emily Holt Crocker is a renowned choral composer, conductor, consultant, and of course, teacher. She began at Meadowbrook Elementary, Meadowbrook Junior High, and Eastern Hills High School, where she graduated in 1968. Let's welcome Miss Emily Holt Crocker. Gerald Griffin, a 1952 graduate of Arlington Heights High School. In 1964, he joined NASA. Amazingly, he found himself working with a PASPL grad, astronaut Alan Bean. In 1970, Jerry's assignment was to lead the lunar landing for Apollo 13. But only 56 hours into that flight, an oxygen tank on board exploded. Jerry and his mission control team scrapped the moon landing plans and put everything they had into getting Apollo 13 and its 3 astronauts back to Earth safely. Let's celebrate Mr. Jerry Griffin. Mrs. Opal Lee is a force of good. She attended Cooper Street Elementary and graduated from I Am Terrell High School in 1943. Ms. Lee founded the Community Food Bank and co-founded Citizens Concerned with Human Dignity. Earlier this year, there was a ribbon cutting for Opal's Farm, a program based on her vision to provide fresh produce to residents of the United Riverside neighborhood. She made national news in recent years for her symbolic walks to Washington to convince Congress and the President to declare Juneteenth a national holiday. Ladies and gentlemen, Mrs. Opal Lee. Burl Yarbrough association with Texas League Baseball goes back to childhood. But never in Burl's young mind did he expect to one day be the president of one of the premier teams in the league, the San Antonio Missions. During his tenure, the Missions have won 6 Texas League championships. He is a 4-time Texas League Executive of the Year. And in 2016, he was named Texas League Hall of Famer. He graduated from Western Hills High School in 1975. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Burl Yarbrough. I Am Terrell High School has turned out a remarkable number of creative, critically acclaimed musicians. We're honoring one of them today, the late Dewey Redman. One night, in a San Francisco jazz club, he played to an audience that included John Coltrane. They ended up playing sessions together, and Mr. Redman said he learned at every opportunity from the great Coltrane. Representing the Redman family is Chris Walk, the Fort Worth ISD Executive Director of Visual and Performing Arts. Let's please recognize Joshua Redman. While the Wall of Fame honors extraordinary alumni, it also says to our students that you can do it. We thank Major Attaway, Emily Holt-Crocker, Gerald Griffin, Opal Lee, the late Dewey Redman, Burl Yarbrough for making your district, our district, very, very proud. Thank you to all of you.
She's the epitome of a student athlete. You know, being an ESPN fan, I mean, I watch those all the time, and so I just think it's phenomenal.
Ladies and gentlemen, from the WNBA Dallas Wings, the one and only Skylar Diggins-Smith.
How you doing? Congratulations. Thank you. It's an amazing platform for athletes, and you know, it's our one award show that we have.
And if it wasn't for this young lady putting in so much hard work and just getting after it every single day and setting the bar this high for all her teammates, we probably wouldn't have won very many games.
It shows me that anybody can do anything that you want as long as you put your mind to it, don't quit, stay strong.
It was hard. I mean, living from hotel to hotel is very expensive. I really didn't have it, but we had to do I had to do what I had to do to raise my girls.
I just felt like her story had to be heard, especially with her being homeless and still making A's and B's.
Danielle, I'm so proud of you. All the hard work has paid off.
I wanted to present you with an honorary SP.
Congratulations. I just want to say thank you to everyone who supported me through my whole life, and I wouldn't be where I am without you guys.
Hello, Fort Worth ISD, and welcome back to the 2019-20 school year and to our Convocation Conversation. Thank you for taking this break in your day. For you, school has already begun, and you're getting everything up and running and ready for our students. This is an important time. You're preparing to instill knowledge and skills and literally change young lives. Well, we're giving you back at least a little bit of time by having another virtual convocation. And this one, even more streamlined than the last couple of years. There's a lot to be excited about this new school year, including a new curriculum. You'll want to hear what our panel has to say about that and more over the next half hour. Among the members of the panel is our Fort Worth ISD Board President, Jacinto Ramos Jr. Cinto.
Saludos. I also want to welcome you back as well. All of us on the Board of Education are so proud of our teachers and staff, and we will be supporting your good work every way we can this school year.
Also on our panel are 4 principals: Myrna Blanchard of North Highmount Elementary, Jeff Bartolotta of Kirkpatrick Middle School, Whitney Scott of Eastern Hills Elementary, and Rodrigo Durbin of South Hills High School. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Great to kick off the year with you. We've had quite a bit of change this summer, particularly in the area of curriculum.
Whitney, what kind of feedback are you hearing?
Well, Dr. Scribner, you know that the best teach is the first teach. And so we're really excited about our new curriculum because it is user-friendly, and within 1 to 2 or 3 clicks, you have everything you need to design effective instruction for our students. You have our high-leverage teach readily available, our assessments, and all best practices. And our teachers and administrators are really excited about the new format of our new curriculum.
Yeah, I heard a lot of folks talk about the need for tangible support in the classroom. Jeff, what about the middle school?
Well, Dr. Scribner, one really great thing about the curriculum, like Whitney said, was the fact that the assessments are so aligned this year to the STAR with our higher leverage TEKS, and really making it very easy to find and to get to that area. Also, we have such a large mobility rate here in our district, students going in between middle schools and elementary schools. So now, students, when they go between each school, are going to be able to have the same curriculum because it's so well laid out, it's very detailed, and so no matter where that student goes within the district, they're going to be able to pick right up where they left off.
So we always talk about curriculum and instruction, and curriculum really is the roadmap. Do you see that at North Highmount for a new teachers, for example?
Absolutely. I think it kind of gives our teachers that firm foundation. And, you know, they say a viable, guaranteed curriculum is like the first thing that teachers want so that they can teach and get students engaged. So I think, Dr. Scribner, just putting that out there right at the beginning is really going to help our teachers get started.
The metaphor I sometimes use is we're like a big IKEA store, and we're sending out boxes of furniture, but I need anyway, the directions in terms of how to do that. Yeah. Some people are very handy, they don't need it, but many of us do need that kind of guidance. What about the secondary level?
You know, just falling back on everybody's, you know, we talked about clear and simple, you know, and that's what, you know, that's been the message from the district, clear and simple, and I think our teachers are really going to appreciate the clear and simple format. It's going to provide the support for our students. It's going to provide the rigor that we're always looking in our curriculum. The teachers are the masters of the classroom, and we're here to provide that support and resource for them.
Yeah, because
I'm very excited about it.
We have a wide range of experience and a wide range of ability, not only in our classroom with our students, but in some cases with our teachers. We want to provide that kind of support.
Yes, sir.
Yeah. So we have customers in our school district. We have our external customers and our internal customers. One of the themes that we're focused on this year is, in fact, customer service, parents and students, but also internally. What are you all doing at the school site level with regard to customer service?
Okay, in accordance with the open meetings law, the board opened the board meeting at 5:30 p.m. in the boardroom with a quorum present, recessed and reconvened open session in the board conference room, adjourned regular session, convened executive session. Adjourned executive session is now reconvened, open session at 7:25 p.m. in the boardroom with a quorum present. Moving on to number 12, accepting consent agenda. No items were asked to be pulled, so do I have a motion accepting consent agenda items? Looking for motion by Trustee Paz and a second by Trustee Luevanos. Any discussion on consent agenda? Looks like no discussion. Let's see if we can get the computer to catch up. Please move the vote. Motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. 13A, no items were removed. 13B, looks like we have no personnel for action items on this one. Moving on to 14, action agenda items. We do not have any items for 14A, B, or C. So we will be moving on to 14D, approval of district teaching permit for non-core CTE courses. Looks like we have a motion by Trustee Toby Jackson. We have a second by Trustee Norman Robbins. Do we have any discussion on this item? Looks like no discussion. Please move to vote. Motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. 14E, approve shared service agreement with ESC Region 11 for instructional services, materials and professional development training and administration of services for private nonprofit schools located within Fort Worth ISD boundaries. Looks like we have a motion by Trustee Toby Jackson. We have a second by Trustee Anay Luevanos. We have any discussion on this item? Looks like we have no discussion. Please move to vote. Motion passes 7-4 and 1 person abstaining. Next, we have 14F, approve resolution and order adopting polling locations and revised order of election for special November 5th, 2019 election. We have a motion by Trustee Toby Jackson, a second by Trustee Anay Luevanos. Do we have any discussion on this item? Looks like no discussion. Please move to vote. Motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. 14G is approve adoption of the Hart Intercivic Verity System as the voting system to be used for all forms of voting in Tarrant County. Looks like we have a motion by Trustee C.J. Evans. We have a second by Trustee Toby Jackson. Do we have any discussion? Looks like no discussion. Please move to vote. Motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. We will skip over 14H, and I'll speak to that in a bit. So we will go ahead and do item 15, comments by board members or superintendent on current district activities and announcements. Do we have any from the board or Dr. Scribner? Trustee Andar.
On September 4th, employees from the Whataburger Corporation were on site at Bruce Schulke Elementary School to deliver 100 copies of the book El Chupacabra by Adam Rubin. Every third grade student took home a copy of the book, El Chupacabra, selected from the 2019-2020 Texas Library Association's Bluebonnet Award reading list. The books were provided through a partnership with Whataburger and First Book, a nonprofit organization that helps connect books and educational resources with students in need. In addition, the Bruce Schulke Library received a gift certificate for 1,000 free books from the First Book Marketplace. These books will be used to supplement the Reading as Fundamental program at Bruce Schulke. The RIF program provides free books for students throughout the school year. And I believe we have a video to spotlight this event.
Volunteers will be reading with the children today in small groups and interacting with them, enjoying the book together.
El Chupacabras.
You guys see it?
He wore a bow tie and drank chocolate.
Today is called a Whataburger Book Wish, and it's through Whataburger and First Book. I think it's great anytime to get to read with kids and have fun and celebrate reading. So it's like a book party is what I told the children.
This looks so big.
Yeah.
We have a couple of our employees volunteer that come out to talk to the kids and share their stories in the books.
We like that story.
Volunteering, it's good for the soul. The community is important. It takes a village to raise a child.
Whataburger is giving all of you a free book to take home with you today.
The First Book believes that education and reading is the way out of poverty for a lot of our kids in need. With partnership with Whataburger and CBS Ecomedia, we were able to distribute 70 $1,000 Book Wish grants.
I'm excited to have my own copy.
Reading is one of the most important things that you're going to learn how to do in school, because if you can read, you can do anything.
So this event directly impacts Fort Worth ISD's 100 by 25 Fort Worth, Texas goal by reminding the third grade students of the importance of reading as well as the value of community support. Lisa Wagner, the librarian at Bruce Schulke, applied for the grant through First Book. The grant was called Whataburger Book Wish, and the school was selected as one of only 2 recipients of the Whataburger Book Wish Grand Prize Reading Celebration. I am thankful for Lisa's commitment to literacy and to the students of Bruce Schulke Elementary, for Vanessa Tritton, the principal at Bruce Schulke, who supports and seeks out innovative ways to encourage literacy, and for the generous contributions of the Whataburger Corporation and First Book.
Thank you, Ann. Next, we have Trustee Anael Luevanos.
Thank you, President Ramos. Based on that report, can we get a report on our readings? How are we helping our teachers this year different from last year to help us improve or achieve 100% by 2025? I was just thinking, not sure how much scores we made, and then what are we doing different to help out the students or the teachers this coming year? Thank you.
Thank you. Looks like that's all the comments from the board. I do want to make a note. Battle of the Boot, which has become an annual thing between Northside and Diamond Hill, is going to be this coming Saturday. Look forward to seeing you at Farrington Field should your schedules permit. The board will now go into closed session to deal with executive sessions 10A and 10E.
used to feel so far away. Didn't think I had a part to play. I used to let things bring me down. I would walk with my eyes to the ground. But I knew I could find a way to push through. Every word they'd say, I grew strong. I knew right from wrong, and now I feel it too. I'm alive, yeah, I'm alive. I'm alive, yeah, I'm alive. I love every moment with you, and I want you to know I do. I'm alive, yeah, I'm alive. Now I wake up to a brand new day. I never wanna wish the time away. I don't wanna waste a second, it's true. I've got that rhythm, don't you feel it too? I'm alive, yeah, I'm alive. I'm alive, yeah, I'm alive. I love every moment with you, and I want you to know I do. I'm alive, yeah, I'm alive.
Okay, the time is 9:27 p.m. The board is reconvening in open session to consider and take possible action regarding the recommendation of the hearing examiner in Fort Worth Independent School District versus Georgia Clark, TEA docket number 127-LH-07-2019. The hearing was conducted in executive session. Do I have a motion for what is agenda item 14H? Looks like I have a motion by Trustee Paz. What is your motion?
I move that the board will consider the arguments we heard tonight, review the record, and render a decision at a special called meeting within 10 days.
Thank you. So we have a motion by Trustee Paz. We have a second by Trustee Toby Jackson. Do we have any discussion on this item? Looks like no discussion. Please move the vote. Motion passes 8-4 and 0 against. With the conclusion of this item, our meeting has come to an end. Thank you.